piece of saran wrap and then a damp towel, not a wet towel. It needs to be, you know, nice and wrung out, but a damp towel needs to go over it. And that's going to help it from getting dry. But see how it's becoming real brittle as it dries out. It'll be okay, but to avoid that. And lots of times you'll get a box and like it'll all be broken. Don't worry, it's a hassle, but it'll work. Okay, because it goes layer upon layer upon layer. So if you just have one right layer in there, or even if they're all broken, but then you layer them up, it'll be fine. The next thing that you want to do when you're working with phyllo is you want to make sure that you have your butter, and you want your butter nice and warm. And the reason why I want my butter nice and warm is so that it's not thick. Butter, as it cools, coagulates and becomes solid at room temperature, right? And if I'm spreading solid or even almost solid on my phyllo, it's going to make it greasy. And you want it, the reason why you're putting butter in between each layer is so that it's flaky. So you have to have a layer of butter in between each layer, and in order to make it flaky, you need to make sure the butter is nice and hot.
Is that what puff pastry is?
This is not puff pastry, no.
I know, but
at all.
It seems like with all those layers, it becomes
kinda, but this is a completely different texture.
Okay.
A puff pastry is a tender, yeah, and this is a very crisp, flaky. I love this stuff. It's fun. So keeping my butter hot, nice and hot, and you're going to go through a lot of butter, okay? And about 3 layers. I don't know, what does your recipe say? 3 layers. Oh, okay, good. See, look at that. We're on the same page. So 3 layers, and then I'm going to demonstrate a couple of different things you can do with this. Will somebody go get me a mini muffin tin out of the bath, please? And a sharp knife, a paring knife if possible. Well, now you know. Another thing that you can do in order to make this nice and flaky is you can add flavor into the layers by sprinkling a little cheese in there, by sprinkling a little cinnamon sugar, by sprinkling breadcrumbs or something in between each layer along with your butter, and that will also help to make it flaky. If you want to make it low fat, that's a lot of fat that we just put in. You can spray it, you know, with a like an olive oil spray or something that has a little less fat content, and then incorporate a little breadcrumb or something like that to help. Okay. Let me demonstrate. Yeah, that's better. Thank you. Let me demonstrate. Do we have a scooper for this? And this is all like free form. These are not going to be like perfect, okay? For those A-type personalities, it does not have to be perfect little squares. It could be whatever. You do want to make sure that, and you just press it in. It is a little bit dry. See how it broke? It shouldn't break. It is a little bit dry. We'll see how we do here. And then you bake that off, and then you can fill it with something. Or you could even make like little mini cheesecakes in here. You can make little mini quiches in here. And these look really beautiful.
So you bake it first, and then you fill it? You can't fill it?
You could fill it. Like if I'm doing a quiche, I would fill it.
Okay.
You know.
So something that has to cook.
But you could cook it like that and add like a chicken salad to it, or you know what I mean. It doesn't have to. You can make
pineapple salsa. We did that in
yeah,
the
we did that
class.
for a catering class, didn't we? On top of cheesecake or something, didn't we?
Did you cut that with a pizza cutter?
Yeah, you can cut it with a pizza cutter, sure. As long as your pizza cutter is nice and sharp, you can cut it with a pizza cutter. All right, I'm hoping we get this moist enough because that did all crack. To do the Spanakopita, what I would do is, this is perfect, first of all, this is perfect. And I would just lay them out. I only want to do one because otherwise you guys are not going to have a whole lot to do. So you lay it out like that, and then it's a long strip, okay? And you start folding. It's the flag fold. So everybody know how to do a flag fold? Yeah, like a samosa. And then you have your nice little, and then more butter, because butter makes everything better, right? channeling Paula Deen. I guess she's changed her tune though, hasn't she? This, I have a little hole here. Hopefully it won't come out. But ideally you don't have a hole. You know, ideally you get it nice and tight. At this point, I would lay those out. You may definitely want to cover it with a little more butter. Lay them out and freeze them, and then once they're frozen, you can bag them so they don't take up so much room in your freezer. And these last a good 6 months in your freezer. So it does seem like kind of a lot of production, but if you get a whole bunch done at one time, like if you're a catering company or you're a hotel that's doing lots of these, you can spend one day and you can get your whole seasons done at one time. Not such a big deal. Another form that you can do, I'm hoping this is wet enough, it's so very dry. This one's gonna be a little greasy, but I wanna show you another, I wanna show you how to do those little bouchées, where you would just put a teeny bit. And you make like a little beggar's purse out of it, like you would do with a crepe, you know? You know, it's a little, this is so dry. It's not happening. But
to stick in the way they don't come out, the thing inside, the filling.
you could probably put a little bit of egg in there, sure. This is a bad example. I don't even want to show you that. It's just too dry. It sat out and it got too dry. So we'll stick with this. But you could take it and make a little purse out of it, and if it wasn't so dry, it wouldn't crack. It would, you know, stay nice and moist, and you wouldn't even need the egg. You know, it should just stay, but it is a little bit dry. It seems to be working out for this. It's not going to work for this either. See how it cracked? Normally it wouldn't do that. Normally it would have cracked, but it sat out and it dried out, so that's what happens. So that's, any questions on the Spanakopita?
No.
Nope. Okay, good. So then as soon as we have the rice done, and remember when you get your rice cooked, then you're going to lay it out onto a sheet pan and fan it so that it gets nice and shiny.